Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve a different type of one-step equation. Now last week, we solved one-step equations that looked something like this. X plus 2 equals 8. Okay, they look something like that. Now we're going to solve one-step equations that look like the three examples I have on the right. Let's start off with the first one. 4j equals 32. So one way that we can think about this is 4 multiplied by what will give me 32. 4 times what equals 32? That's one way to think about this. Now you might already have the answer just from this, and if you do, that's amazing. If you don't, that's okay. We're going to go through it anyways. Now, if you search back in your brain to a few weeks ago, I told you that when there's a number sandwiched right beside a letter or variable, that means that there is a secret hidden operation in between them. And that operation was multiplication. So this means 4 times j. So you would read this as 4 times j equals 32. So let's solve this using opposite operations. If there is a times here, what's the opposite of timesing? What's the opposite of addition? It's subtraction. So the opposite of timesing is dividing. Now that's something that you guys need to memorize, the opposite operations. Addition and subtraction are opposite, multiplication and division are opposite. So I'm going to perform the opposite operation. So I'm going to divide 4j by 4. And I show that using a line. That means divide. Since this is an equation, whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do the exact same thing to the other side. So I'm going to do a line and 4 here too. That just means 32 divided by 4. Now 4 divided by 4, those two 4s cancel each other out. So I can draw a line through them to show that they've canceled. Now what I have left is j equals 32 divided by 4. Now, if you know this one off the top of your head, that is amazing. If you don't, then take out your calculator. 32 divided by 4 gives you 8. Now, don't just put 8 as your answer. You have to put j equals 8. That would be your answer. Now, you may or may not remember last week that I showed you how to check your work. So let's go through a check. It's always super important that you do a check. So I'm going to rewrite the original equation. 4 times j equals 32. Then I'm going to take my answer and I'm going to substitute it in the place of j. Now remember, we always substitute in brackets. So I'm going to do 4 bracket 8 equals 32. A number beside a bracket means multiplication. So I'm going to do 4 times 8. What's 4 times 8? 32. So 32 equals 32. Check. That means my answer is correct. It's possible for you guys to get 100% on solving equations because you can check your work. So pretty awesome. Next one, 78 equals 13r. Okay, so there is a hidden operation between the 13 and the r. What is it? It's multiplication. So one way that you could think of this is 78 equals 13 times something. So if you know your answer right away now, that's awesome. If not, that's okay. We're going to go through it. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to take this side and divide by 13. Now, since I did it to the right side of the equal sign, I have to also do it to the left side. So I'm going to divide this side by 13 as well. 13 divided by 13 cancels, so I can draw a line through it to show that it cancels. So now what I have is 78 divided by 13 equals, those 13s canceled, so all I have left is r. Now, if you know 78 divided by 13, that's awesome. If not, grab your calculator. 78 divided by 13 is 6. But your answer is not just 6. It's 6 equals r or r equals 6. These are both acceptable answers. Now let's go back and let's check it. So let's make sure our answer is right. So I'm going to rewrite the original equation, 78 equals 13r. And then I'm going to take my answer of 6 and I'm going to substitute it in the place of my variable. So I'm going to do 78 equals 13. Now remember, when we substitute, we put it in brackets. So equals 13 bracket 6. So I want you guys to try this one. If you need your calculator, that's okay, but it's always good to try mental math first. That's the only way that you're going to get better at it, is if you try it. So 13 times 6 is 78. So 78 equals 78, and it's correct. Last one. 2p equals 22. So one way you can think about this is 2 times what gives you 22. You might know this already. If you have like a guess, but you're not sure, maybe just write your guess up in the top corner and circle it. And then you can check and see if your guess was right. Okay, so 2 right beside a p. That means that there's multiplication here. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 2. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now, question for you. Why am I dividing by 2 and not dividing by 22? How come? The reason for that is because there's no operation over here. It's just 22. So the opposite of nothing is nothing, right? There's nothing to opposite. Here there is an operation. There's a multiplication. So that's why we're dividing by 2 and not dividing by 22. Now these 2's cancel. So what we have left over is p equals 22 divided by 2. Now you may or may not know this one. The answer is p equals 11. Let's check our work. So I'm going to take the original equation and I'm going to put 11 in the place of p, of course using brackets. So 2 and then in brackets 11 equals 22. 2 times 11 is 22. So we are correct. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go to your slides. Just go to slide 4 now. There are 3 examples for you to try. One of them is already done for you. You might need to do this on a separate sheet of paper, and that's okay. Then type your answers in and move this hot pink box to reveal the answer. If you got some questions wrong, there's going to be a video right here for you to figure out what you did wrong.